coming up to 3. Welcome into the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your shows, your podcasts. Johnny Venerable, joined as always, Mr. Bo Brack. How we living here on a Thursday?
Us Arizona Cardinal uniform truthers, we're holding strong. We're holding out hope that this little, team shop closed down is what we initially thought it was.
Yeah.
The team unveiling its new uniforms. Not likely because there's some auto auction going on at State Farm Stadium, but I love the chat already crushing it, talking about some of today's biggest topics, including Anthony Richardson doing his part, having a big pro day, and then talking to some brass from the Las Vegas Raiders. They just want to create a quarterback controversy for 2023. Are they going to come up from 7 to 3? And what are they going to pay Monti Ossenfort, the Arizona Cardinals, for it? Love it.
I'll never forget. We were at the NFL Combine, and the quarterbacks had just spoke, and Richardson had spoke. He had a bunch of people around him, and then we were all sitting by our radio booth where we broadcast every day, and Anthony Richardson walked by, and I'm not the biggest guy in the world. Everybody knows it. He's like 3 of me, and producer Shane, who's kind of a low-key Seahawk fan, was anti-Anthony Richardson before the Combine.
I like to call him a filthy Seahawks fan. Just filthy.
He's a filthy
chicken
boy.
fan.
After he saw Anthony Richardson that day, he was so impressed with him. Like, we had to stop Shane from following him into the bathroom. It got a little bit embarrassing. I said, give that man some grace. But he had a big smile on his face because he knew he had made himself some money with his performance, with the things that he said. And then I think he put the cherry on top today. And I know we got a lot of people coming at us and, on Twitter just saying, well, Johnny, it's just a pro day. Everybody looks good in a pro day. That's true, but you can fuck up a pro day. And he did the opposite of that. We have some tape here, I think, from producer Emma, of Anthony Richardson today. His last throw of the day is an absolute bomb through the Florida Gators, bubble. And then he completes this pass on like a Hail Mary bomb. And then he runs downfield with a couple of his teammates and they start doing backflips. And it's just like, what is this, Circus Olay? and then the first person or the first people that run up to Anthony Richardson, not the Cardinals, it's the GM for the Raiders. It's the assistant GM for the Raiders, almost like trying to stiff arm other GMs like, this is our guy. I mean, the Cardinals have played this well where Anthony Richardson has taken care of business and they're just like, okay, we're all ears. The pro day's out of the way. We're open for business.
We did our first mock draft, right? Earlier this week. It's up on our YouTube page and pulled off a trade with the Las Vegas Raiders. Could it be something that comes to fruition? But it's like, you're going to have to pay a steep price, right? I mean, the Indianapolis Colts, depending on what they do as far as this Lamar Jackson sweepstakes or what they want to do or who they've identified as their next quarterback, could they move up from 4 to 3? And then you've got the Falcons. I know that they expressed their undying love for Desmond Ridder. That's probably not the right move for any organization. But the Las Vegas Raiders trying to mark their territory, hold claim to the third quarterback prospect of this draft class. We've seen, you talk about you can't screw up a pro day, but Will Levis, according to Chad Forbes, is screwing up his interviews. He's bombing his interviews. So there's 3 legit prospects here. And, they can be in different order. You've got Richardson as high as 1. You've got C.J. Stroud, the money, the favorite to be number 1 overall at Carolina. And then you got Bryce Young, who's been, mocked most drafts to the Houston Texans. And then you've got that third spot, the top spot now remaining for a team to come up. And who holds on to that? Who's driving up the price? Monti Ossenfort and the Arizona Cardinals. It's perfect.
That video we mentioned, here it is. Anthony Richardson, his last day throw at his pro day. Let's check it out.
Wow.
It doesn't, I mean, listen, you're
throwing
on air,
squad.
but it's like, that's a specimen right there. And I don't think it hurts.
I didn't even think that. Did you see the one where he put it off the top of the building?
Yeah. Yeah. That was nuts. There's like, hey, Gators, get your building a little bit taller so your quarterback can make some throws. That tells me that's an indictment on Florida's program, even more so. It made me feel better about drafting him. But McDaniels wanted Tebow back in the day. This kid's a way better prospect than Tim Tebow ever was. But it makes me feel good that if McDaniels is leading the charge with the Raiders general manager who hired Josh McDaniels, it's like they don't care about completion percentage. If that's who's making the pick, this kid had 52% completion percentage. Tim Tebow couldn't complete 50% at the University of Florida. I know he did, but McDaniels has a history of taking inaccurate quarterbacks from Florida. So I do think that Las Vegas right now is part of that group poised to potentially trade up. So much so that before the show started, we got a little tweet from our guy, Benjamin Albright. I think he's still on vacation, maybe not, but he's working, and he's working overtime. So somebody asked him, Ben, who are the Raiders taking at 7? And Benjamin said, what if they aren't picking at 7? Winky face, not emoji, but winky face. And it's like, oh shit. Well, we know that guy's connected, especially in the AFC West, where he covers the Denver Broncos on a consistent basis. He's got people in the know with Josh McDaniels, the ex-Broncos head coach. This is starting to fall in line. And again, I still think you can get Indy to trade. That's the best case scenario, depending on what they would give up, because you'd still have a shot at Will Anderson. But the best thing next is presumably that Detroit's not infatuated with one of these QBs. You can get both their ones. The next best option is Vegas, Bo.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Tebow, and sometimes that's a 4-letter word, especially when you're talking about NFL football. Right?
I love Tebow.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he was an electric college quarterback. And it's like, I think that you look at these two prospects, right? Tim Tebow was built for the college game, where his shortcomings were, he could overcome with, the work that he put in and maybe the lack of defenses playing at a higher speed, right? And then he went to the next level, and that had a ceiling to it, where I think Anthony Richardson was kind of handicapped by, who he was surrounded by. Obviously, he went through a couple different coaches down there at Florida. He didn't have the stability that Tim Tebow had at the same school, and he probably projects as a better professional prospect than Tebow ever did because of his size, because of his arm talent. And it's just like Anthony Richardson, like if Josh McDaniels was infatuated with Timmy Teebs, he's of course going to be infatuated with a guy with the skill set, the makeup of an Anthony Richardson because of what he projects to be. It's what Josh Allen has created and breathed new life into these types of prospects, because they used to be like, you look at it and you're like, well, what was their production? Like, there was exceptions to the rule, but most of those guys, they just couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure it out at the D1 level, and they couldn't figure it out at the NFL level. But then Josh Allen happened, and he went from a just over 50% passer, developed his game, refined developed the entire repertoire of passes that you needed. And when I heard Anthony Richardson talk at the combine, I listened to all 3 quarterbacks talk in a row, and he was the third, right? And he said he was the most impressive of all of them. Now, he had the most questions and the most pressing questions, and probably more of a polarizing prospect for sure. But I thought what he said, how he handled it. One guy to his face called him a project quarterback, and he joked with them.
Oh my God.
But what he said, he was asked about, what play he would run in a certain situation. He had an answer for that. He had an answer how he can improve on where his shortcomings are. He had an answer for every question that he was asked, and he answered it and passed with flying colors. And then he passed this with his pro day with flying colors. It's like he has done everything that you needed him to do. If you're the Cardinals looking to trade down, to solidify him as a top 3 quarterback in this draft, to drive up the price, to drive up people wanting him, from the Colts to the Raiders to maybe the Falcons to a mystery team. Could it be the Commanders? Could it be the Titans? But he's done everything he needed to do to solidify himself and put Monti Ossenfort as the most popular guy during draft season.
Follower of the show, Albert, DM me, and there's speculation out there that the Seahawks are poised to trade up. I just don't see that happening. I could be wrong. That would have to be the first time a division rival has granted somebody within their division their quarterback of the future. To me, you got to draw the line somewhere. There are other needy teams, Indy, the Raiders, obviously, that we're discussing, Tennessee, maybe Atlanta. I wouldn't feel comfortable making a deal with Pete Carroll and John Schneider. That's just me. I have to believe that when I see it. I think the Vegas Raiders make a ton of sense. Let's get to some of these super chats. Han shot first, one of my favorite avatars that we have here, and followers of the show. Richardson's pro day confirmed trade haul for Cards. You are correct, sir. $1.99 super chat. So much so that, yeah.
You know this because you're a Star Wars nerd. What is that? What does his username mean?
So in the first Star Wars, I'm not going to call it episode 4 because it was just Star Wars when it came out in 1977. There is a scene in the bar, the Cantina bar, where this bounty hunter comes up to Han Solo and wants his money, wants a ship, and Harrison Ford's character shoots this character. His name is Greedo.
The Millennium Falcon, right?
Well, yeah, he wants money to give to Jabba the Hutt. He shoots this character, kills him like in cold blood in the cantina. But Greedo's got his gun on Han Solo, on Harrison Ford. But because Disney has, kind of, made it a little bit more like, oh, did he shoot first? Like they don't want Han Solo to come out and be just a cold-blooded killer. But the way George Lucas made him in 1977 is Harrison Ford shot Greedo, and he was the only person to shoot. And now they've digitally edited it where it looks like both guys are shooting at the same time. It's like, no. Han shot first. He was the only person to shoot. Greedo never shot the gun. That's what that means.
All right. Thanks for breaking it down.
Sure, no problem.
Han Solo has his red flags in his past, as does Anthony Richardson, but not, Richardson, not as many as Han. No doubt about it. I mean, he didn't shoot anybody first. He just had some accuracy issues in the SEC. But all right, let's get back onto we had a couple more of these super chats as I completely pulled the parachute on the momentum of the show.
No, those are questions that need to be answered right now when this team's giving us shit in the free agent market. B Money's got a super chat.
B Money, by the way, he contributed to our PHNX Community Day last week. He did it after the show. Big thank you to B Money contributing to Ryan's house. It was a great charity to help out Money Boys. What will happen first? A draft deal, trade down, etc., or a D-Hop trade. The way it's looking, the draft trade is what I think. We had, was it Albert Breer or was it Ian Rappaport that was reporting that they thought that there was momentum that D-Hop could be a draft day deal. So if that's the case, you got to imagine that a trade down would happen before.
Did I not say that on the show last week? I think we talked about it, and you said, I still would say D-Hop, and it just feels like they're in a standstill with this D-Hop thing. You got people out there like Benjamin Albright saying that the Broncos want a second for Cortland Sutton, and teams are offering a fifth. So it's like, I don't know. I still think that a D-Hop trade gets done before the draft, but like shit, man, after what you saw today, what's going on with these teams? What was our official prediction about the trade down, by the way? Bo and I said on record right after we got back from the combine, and then after the Chicago Bears made their deal, we're going to wait for the pro days to be open and to be done with the quarterbacks. And when that happens, and that's done today, then I think a trade becomes all the more imminent. Not today, but like in the next week, the Cardinals are on the clock to trade. We know 3+ teams have contacted them wanting to trade up. Carolina wanted to come to 3 before eventually going to 1. It's the Anthony Richardson sweepstakes, though, because it's supposedly Houston and CJ Stroud, and Carolina's potentially still looking at Bryce Young. But the Cardinals they're in a position they've never been in before, Bo.
Right. And as we look at the Raiders, because of their assistant GM going right up to AR after his pro day today, after his performance, and something we kind of looked at the Raiders last week when Pac-Man Jones identified them as one of the 5 teams that would be interested in DeAndre Hopkins. You start really kind of peeking at what draft capital they have. Producer Emma put together this graphic of the draft capital they have for the 2023 draft. Starts with the first round, 7th overall, 38th overall in the second round. Then they've got a pair of 3s, 70th and 100th. Then they've got a 4th and then 3 5s, pair of 6 and a pair of 7s. If you count that up, that's 12 picks overall for the Las Vegas Raiders. So look, they've got a lot of ammo to operate with in order to orchestrate a trade up. And it just seems to be fitting that they have ties and interest in a guy like Anthony Richardson. It just seems like this is the team that can that could secure the 3rd overall pick, even more so than Indy, that's sitting there with the, a pick behind. You could still get a Will Anderson if you just fall back to 4, and then maybe the 2nd round pick from them, which is 35th overall, just a pick behind the Arizona Cardinals. It seems like the Vegas Raiders, if they want to pull off this deal, they're in a prime position to do it.
Rafa 30 is speaking my language here. This is the tweet I put out from the PFF mock. 7 and 38 and a future 1 would be my starting point. Yet I talked to non-Cardinal fans, and they think that package alone, so 2 1s, but essentially it's not 2 1s, but it is, and pick 38, which a lot of people think is a 1, is too much. I do not. If I'm Monti Ossenfort, and there are other teams that want to move up, Mark Davis and company, you have to offer at minimum pick 38 this year and your 1 next year to even have the conversation started. To even be able to have a conversation with me, I need at least your 1 next year. To me, that's the golden ticket right there. Because all these other teams that are in the mix, like maybe not the Colts, because you're not going to get their 1 next year, but like Tennessee's well coached, they could be viable next year, even without, a bunch of premium resources. Atlanta was 7 and 10. The NFC's terrible. Like, we know the Raiders are probably going to be asked this year. They're in the gauntlet of the AFC. They're in the AFC West, right? At best, we think they're like the 3rd best team, maybe, with Jimmy G and a rookie quarterback. That's a top 12 pick next year. And you'd have a hard time convincing me otherwise. That's why you have to be thinking that they're the preferred candidate for Ossenfort. As much as everybody says, go back to 4 to get Will Anderson, I can guarantee you the Cardinals are not thinking that way. The only way they're thinking that way is to go to 4 so then they can try to trade down again. But no one wants Will Levis now. So really, your meal ticket is going from 3 to wherever, and that's it. That's how you're going to get your haul. And you go to 7, we haven't talked about this, Bo. I think there's still a really good chance that you're going to get a top 3 player on your board.
Yeah, non-quarterback, no doubt about it. Agent 47, this is a deal I actually pulled off on the Pro Football Focus Draft Simulator, so it's got to be, it's going to happen. I went with the first, the 2nd round pick this year, so that's 7 and 38, and in a future first for 2024 first, plus a 3rd round pick. And it accepted it, so it's got to happen, right? That's the baseline. Is that the baseline? The PFF mock draft simulator. It's got to be gospel, right? What they say goes.
You're joking about that, but I think that brings up a good point. Is there are people pointing to like the trade value chart that doesn't apply here because it's for a quarterback. Throw that out the window. Wipe your ass with it. It doesn't matter. This is not your stereotypical trade up or trade down. The conversation is, do you like Josh McDaniels? How many swings at the plate is he going to get to be a head coach? This guy, I can't remember his name, as the GM of the Raiders. You're saddling your horse to Josh McDaniels now. You got to win. You got to give Mark Davis and company an opportunity to see what you're building, and you're not winning anything with Jimmy Garoppolo. I
find that strange, though, don't you? I mean, with the pressure to win now, especially after such a failure of a season last year, right? Where they're benching Derek Carr with weeks to spare, and they're talking about Josh McDaniels absorbing the $10 million a season contract that he has after being 1 season at the helm. Why would they put themselves in an automatic quarterback controversy with Jimmy G and Anthony Richardson? Because that's what's happening right out of the gates if they trade up and take a quarterback. That happens if they draft a quarterback, if they stick and pick at 7. The pressure is on now to win. And to win now, as much as you can be intrigued by Anthony Richardson, the prospect, I don't think that he's, especially in McDaniel's system, would give them a better chance than Jimmy G. So why would they want to put themselves in that situation? Why not stick and pick like an offensive lineman or the best defensive player on the board? That's what but that's why the Raiders are who they are. That's why they struggle as a franchise.
You buy a meal ticket quarterback, you get extra time. That's just how it works. You struggle next year and you're starting him, but look how many strides we made, right? Look how close we were to competing. Look how close we were to winning games, with Anthony Richardson. If they can get his arrow pointed up at the end of the year, they're not cutting bait. Josh McDaniels is the quarterback coach, runs their offense, is the offense. So if I'm Josh McDaniels, I'm saying, well, shit, this is going to buy me at least 2 years, right? This is going to give me an opportunity to come and coach him next year. He'll get playing time. Then I can sell Mark Davis on full season, full off season. He's ours next year. And I think it's brilliant. I know a lot of people are like, this is typical Raiders dysfunction. You're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert, and now Sean Payton. Like, get your shit together. Try to get an established or a playmaking quarterback. I think it's the right move, because I think if you keep Jimmy Garoppolo and you try to build around him, you're just asking to get fired. That's my opinion, though. I could be wrong. Let's get to the super chat. Jalen Blair, thank you so much. $10 for supporting the channel in that way. Daniel Jeremiah said the two teams he's heard about trading up, Raiders and the Titans. How you feel about getting 11, a third round pick, first next year, second next year, and two-time All-Pro defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons? I got to get their 2 this year. I don't want their third if I'm not getting their 2. I've seen a lot of people in the chat point out Jeffrey Simmons is an option. I feel like with what we've seen from this team, Bo, I mean, he wants more money. They want cheap capital, whether it's money or cheap players or draft capital. I don't see them taking on a player like that unless they're just a throw-in.
They would, to my point from last week a couple times about, an Ed Oliver potential Buffalo trade or Gabe Davis. It's like, just like those guys, Jeffrey Simmons is in the final year of his contract. So you would have to, as much as Jeffrey Simmons, when healthy, is a difference maker, is an impact maker on the defensive line, and the Cardinals have the worst defensive line in the league. It seems like it adds up, and you look at his age, 24 years old, perfect age for him to come in his prime years. Sign him. You'd have to sign him to a multi-year contract. I think that would be the one thing that you would have to have in the mix of pulling off a deal like that, because otherwise you're just looking for draft capital. You're looking for the team that can provide the most draft capital to jumpstart this rebuild. So, if Simmons is somebody that's like, well, despite a change of scenery and get me out of Nashville, I want to test the market. What's the point of that? What's the point of having him as one and done? Like, you would have to get him because 2023, the odds of you contending and having a guy like Simmons be a part of a team right now that's making its way to the playoffs are very slim, because they're in a rebuild. So unless you're going to keep him around, it doesn't do much for me. It's draft capital.
He's 25. So if you could get him here and sign a 4-year deal, then hopefully by year 2, you're cooking on all cylinders. Again, I wouldn't hate it, wouldn't dislike it, but it feels like their priority is to gut it first, right? It's like when you fish, you got the fish, right? You clean everything up, and then you cook it. And they're a hot minute away from cooking, outside of cooking in the NFL draft. I love this comment a little bit earlier, saying from Lucas Stewart, that I think is worth pointing out. So the Raiders GM worked with Monti, Ossenfort, New England. And Monti obviously has a relationship with Josh McDaniels. That's a good thing. Who didn't have relationships? Keim and Cliff Kingsbury. And we talk about that in nauseam and why it's hampered this team for so long. Cliff didn't have NFL contacts, and Steve Keim had been with this franchise his entire NFL career. It's like Monti Ossenfort gets this done, and we're sitting back and we're collecting draft picks, like $100 bills. You're going to be able to point to Michael Bidwill and say, you hired the right guy because this was the guy to be able to best get this deal right now. I love the guy in Chicago that opted not to take the job. I know he was the first choice. Can't remember what his name was.
Ian Cunningham.
Ian and Cunningham. But does he get this deal done? We'll see. And again, I know we're counting our chickens a little bit before they hatch, but I know definitively they've got 3+ teams that want to do a deal tomorrow, today, yesterday. And so it just comes down to how much can you squeeze from these teams? Ian Cunningham, I appreciate it in the chat, guys. So Monti Ossenfort, I mean, he's on the clock right now. I wonder, though, you want to do a deal before the draft, don't you? You want to do a deal before the night of the draft, just in case something were to happen. The sooner you do the deal, like, God forbid, a video comes out about, one of these top quarterbacks, and then one of them, it's not a Jalen Carter situation, but maybe it's a kid out of Miami situation with the gas mask, and somebody drops into the teens, then you don't have your leverage. Right. You don't have your leverage anymore. And I know that's an extreme example, but you're better off making a deal a couple weeks before the draft. You have your picks no matter what. And then these teams are locked into taking a quarterback. If you wait until that Thursday, live at 4 Peaks, when we're going to be there, and something happens and you lose your leverage and you have to saddle and take a player at 3, that's not what you want, right?
Right. And the right package is going to present itself, right? I mean, I think that he's probably on the phones enough and knows the ballpark, obviously the baseline of a deal, and then who's going to come over the top and who's going to be the one that's going to blow Monti Ossenfort away with the right deal to move back, right? Because it's otherwise you're just getting greedy. And to your point, it's like you're counting your chickens about who's going to be there at 3 or who's going to be perceived as the top pick. That can blow up in your face. We've seen it before, as a couple of the situations that you pointed out. So you strike while you can and make sure you can kind of lock that in. It's like they know ballpark who's gonna, if they trade down to 7 or if they trade down to 8, who's gonna be there. But you can't control what happens if Anthony Richardson is working out and blows his ACL. Then you're cooked, right? I mean, he's still gonna get drafted, but not 3rd overall. So it is important. I think that time is of the essence for Monti Ossenfort to strike while he can, and it seems like it's ballpark within the next couple of weeks. Then teams can start to really solidify their draft boards. As far as those teams, the top 3 teams that are going to be seeking quarterback and how those dominoes are going to fall. You've got an idea, but you don't know until draft night. And then you start to look at the remainder of the top 10. You're Monti Ossenfort. Okay, let's really dig in and do our homework. Not to say they won't. I'm sure they'll know they'll be set up for any scenario, especially within the top 10. Is it a Christian Gonzalez? Is it a Devin Witherspoon? Is it a Paris Johnson Jr.? What direction they want to go, because then they can continue to set up their draft board in rounds beyond round 1.
Yeah. When the San Francisco 49ers traded up to make their horrific selection of Trey Lance, that was on March 26th. That was not April 26th. That was March 26th. So we're on the clock, definitely. Super chat from B Money. Thank you so much. $1.99. AZ posted 3 players signed today. Depth pieces. We're going to get to that, B Money, here in a little bit. But first, I want to tell you about our friends at BetMGM Sportsbook. Listen, the hype is very real. We are so fortunate to be partnered up with BetMGM Sportsbook. Beginning now and into this fall, we're talking about the premium game day experience with PHNX Cardinals every single game day. Not away, not home, every single game day, both with PHNX Cardinals. I'm talking pregame, postgame, halftime shows, giveaways, drink specials, and we're kicking it off this weekend with a Phoenix Suns watch party, our debut, if you will, at BetMGM Sportsbook. And to get pumped up and ready for this weekend, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, they're not messing around. Use bonus code PHNX, and you're going to get up to $200 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Let me repeat that. All you got to do is download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code PHNX. Place a pregame moneyline wager in the amount of at least 10 bones on any market at all standard odd price, and you're going to receive a $200 in bonus bets instantly, regardless of the outcome of your wager. 10 bones gets you 200. Just make sure you're using the bonus code PHNX when you sign up.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
You can bet your sweet behind that there's going to be some Four Peaks beer on tap as well at the BetMGM Final Four watch party with us here at PHNX. Cannot wait for that. I know they've got Kilt Lifter. I know they've got the #1 Wow wheat beer there, #1 wheat beer in Arizona. Also, as Johnny mentioned, and we're going to mention it ad nauseum, but we're excited about it. The Four Peaks NFL Draft watch party, PHNX Cardinals. We're going to be there, whether they're selecting 3rd overall, somewhere in the top 10, somewhere in the first round. They're going to make a pick or multiple picks. We're going to bring it in with you. You got to be out there. I believe it's going to be a free event, right, Johnny? Like, this isn't like you don't have to buy tickets to hang out with us. Yes.
Our guy, Brian, one of our close friends who watches the show every day, hopefully Brian's in the chat, asked me, And so hopefully I can articulate this to everybody. I think they're free. I know they're free, but you have to do a pre-sign up kind of deal so we can get a head count. So we're going to have that information when it becomes available, but it's happening and it's free for everybody.
New coach, new GM, the Cardinals, they have got the 3rd overall pick as it stands right now in the NFL draft, and we're going to all watch it unfold at Four Peaks, 8th Street Brewery in Tempe. It's a big opportunity for our team. Best place to take in this pivotal moment. The rest of the NFL draft is with us April 27th, Four Peaks, 8th Street Pub. Got to be 21 years or older, of course, to enjoy the beer and enjoy it responsibly.
Producer Emma confirming with me, free. You got to register. Links out next week, but mark it on your calendars. You're spending draft night with us here at PHNX Cardinals, Four Peaks in Tempe. I cannot wait. I also can't wait to read these super chats. Pick and Spreads, $10. Thank you so much, Pick and Spreads. It really does feel like Las Vegas is the team to do it. There's ties with Monti. The GM went to AR's Pro Day, Anthony Richardson, and was the first to talk. Also, it would help a lot because Las Vegas is likely to finish last in the NFC West. 100%. Like, you want to go 5-11 with Jimmy Garoppolo and, another backup when he gets hurt? Or do you want that young stud ready to go, break glass in case of emergency? And McDaniels can run his Tebow offense. They can do some kind of hybrid offense, run him around, get people excited. I mean, the Chicago Bears, they were a tough watch last year, but everybody was talking about Justin Fields, right? And I think Anthony Richardson, to me, Bo, not the same kind of player. He's not as, I don't think, straight line fast as Fields, but he can run. He can run in the open field. I tweeted out today, he's everything I think that people thought Trey Lance was going to be, but played at a much higher level of competition, has made a comment or two about, people question his accuracy and what he say at the NFL Combine. Well, I can't catch the passes too if I throw to somebody. So I think it makes all the sense in the world. I love that Las Vegas Pick and Spreads appears to have that sense of urgency to come up, Bo.
443. That was Anthony Richardson's 40 time in Indy.
Oh my God.
And he was asked at the podium before, he said, what do you expect to run? They wanted a time. And he said, it's going to be fast. And they said, can you elaborate? And he said, it's going to be fast. And that's fast for a quarterback. 443, the size, absolutely. Everything you want, except for when you turn on the tape from Florida. I think that, Gator fans, a lot of people who watched him play in the SEC wanted to see more from a guy who had that skill set. And that's the big red flag for Anthony Richardson. But as far as his draft process goes and these quarterback hungry teams, he's doing everything he can possibly do to kind of change the narrative around him that you see from some of the tape that he produced for the Gators. So let's get back to some of these super chats. We got some more here. Topic 64 said, yesterday when you did the mock draft, you didn't choose any receivers. Why is that such an afterthought? We need receivers. You say it 3 times, it happens. Just like Beetlejuice. That's a good question. And I think it's more like when I start looking at these mock drafts and I see it, the talent that should be drafted in the 2nd round, the 3rd round, the 4th round, I get scared off because some of them are under 6 feet. I'm like, okay, I think that the Arizona Cardinals absolutely will add some diversity to the receiving room, maybe through the draft. Absolutely. I think it's something that they might do, especially in also the running back position, as they've been tied to a couple running back prospects already. But they can't add another guy under 6 feet. Like they added Zach Pascal, who's 6'2", who can play the slot a little bit. He can play a little outside, but you need to add some more. I saw Jonathan Mingo in the chat. I think that would be a great guy, a guy that's been comped to an Anquan Bolden, physical, big. That would make sense. But if you're going to go out there and get Mims from Oklahoma, it's like he's 5'11". You've got Hollywood Brown at 5'9". You've got Rondale Moore at 5'7". You've got Greg Dortch at 5'8". It's like, no, you need more. You need to add size to that room because you're probably going to trade DeAndre Hopkins, who's over 6 feet, and all you really have is Zach Pascal and 2 guys who were on the practice squad last year.
Topic 64 adds another super chat. Thank you so much, Topic 64. No 5'8" to 5'11"
Right.
receivers allowed. I agree with that. To double down on Bo's point, this receiver group is just as solid, right? It's not great. Last year, how many receivers went in the top 20? Like 5. It's a nice class that I think is going to have some quality starters, but like, what if this team gets Marvin Harrison Jr. next year. I hope they don't draft that high, but that's a possibility. I also think that you have to look at how this team has been built and where their premium picks have gone in the last, I don't know, half decade plus. It's been on wideouts. I think it's okay to take an offseason off of drafting receiver high. Go back and look at, since Christian Kirk was drafted in the 2018 draft, they have used either a first or second round pick on a wide receiver. It goes Kirk, then it was Andy Isabella the next year. Then they traded their second for D-Hop. That worked out. Then in 2021, they used their second on Rondale Moore. And then last year, they used their first on Hollywood Brown. Some of those worked better than others, but it's okay to take a beat. And I'm probably in the minority. I think with the style of football they want to play, I don't know who the hell is going to be playing quarterback for them. Ertz, McBride, Greg Dortch, Hollywood Brown, maybe Rondale Moore, Pascal. You can get enough out of that group. James Conner, and then hopefully a running back. I'd like to see them take a running back higher than wideout, frankly, because I think this group of backs is way better. And then next year, what are you going to do with Rondale? What are you going to do with Hollywood Brown? Hopkins probably isn't around, presumably. So I think next year is the year to really kind of remake your receiving core.
What about Rashee Rice? Absolutely. Jackson, that's a great call. 6'2", SMU, looked great at the Senior Bowl throughout practice. Cooked a couple of the cornerbacks there, no doubt about it. And then you've got Arizona Animal who's saying just stop drafting wide receivers.
Take them on day 3. Take them on day 3. That's
right.
fine.
No, there's plenty of guys who are going to. I mean, it's a position where there's plenty of guys over 6 feet. I think it. Absolutely, take a flyer on a guy and see how he fits in, and if it's a lottery pick and he can immediately Monti Ossenfort. Believe me, if he picks a wide receiver who's productive at any point in his NFL career, he's going to already make Steve Keim look like a bum that he is. Right? I mean, he went 1 for 10 basically drafting wide receivers in his career as Cardinals GM. I was looking at the BetMGM odds, 3rd overall pick. They've got Will Anderson at plus 125 and then Anthony Richardson at plus 125. So there's some value there, right?
We need to help our friends at BetMGM.
Don't you think that's a good bet? I mean, plus money on Anthony Richardson, don't you just hammer that?
I'm not saying cash out your 401ks. What I am saying is,
can you use that bet, like the promo code on that bet?
I think it's a money line bet.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure but you can deposit your own money and make a bunch of money. Don't put it on Will Anderson because that's equivalent of lighting it on fire at this point. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if the Cardinals pick 3rd, I don't even think it would be Will Anderson that they would draft. I don't even think that. I think there's a better chance. I mean, like the Christian Gonzalez hype is real right now. Like he's checked every box. He's a blue chip cornerback prospect. We know they love him. They absolutely love him. I feel like Christian Gonzalez could be like the first defensive player drafted. I could be nuts. You guys could call me ridiculous, but I don't know, man. Like, have you seen that kid? He's a specimen.
And that's kind of how it went. Like once you saw the pass rushers go last year, you're like, okay, what direction is this draft going to go? And you had a pair of cornerbacks go after that. You had, Houston and the Jets pick up on the kid out of LSU and Sauce Gardner. I mean, that and those proved to be, Stingy, that proved to be some pretty good moves for those franchises doing that. So, could the Cardinals, and that wasn't, nobody was really anticipating that, right? I mean, nobody anticipated those teams pulling the trigger on that, but they did. And I mean, Gonzalez is somebody who's kind of a hot name right now. So
Jackson said Stingley went a 3. Yeah, I mean, these freak show corners, it's not my choice. I would take Will Anderson. This is I think it's important that we reiterate this because we always have new folks joining the show and we appreciate that. We are Will Anderson stains. I love that he did everything in the combine, but we're telling you point blank, everybody we talked to in Indianapolis and everybody we've heard from since then said that they like Will Anderson. They don't love him. It's not a slam dunk pick for them. And I'm sure part of that is how would he translate to the 4-3 defense, even though they don't talk about scheme enough. And then what's his ceiling? I would take Will Anderson with my first pick assuming they could trade down. I don't know if the Cardinals are going to do that.
Yeah. I think you meant stands, right?
What did I say? Stain?
Yeah.
Isn't it
fine.
What do the kids say? Isn't that what the kids say?
Stands.
Stan.
Will Anderson stands. Look, I was thinking about it. Like maybe we should do like a ongoing segment, like short segment, basically of if they were on the clock right now, not today, but like right now, they had to put the card in. Who would they take? And I think like it. I would like to think it's Will Anderson. Like if they couldn't pull off a trade like that, because he's the best defensive prospect in the draft.
Emma is shaming me in the private chat, saying that calling me a goofball because you are correct with your pronunciation of Stain and Stan. Han shot
I didn't
first.
think that. I thought you just misspoke. I didn't think it was that extreme. Like you thought it was pronounced.
It's not like one of those situations where I say mustache. I can't say it the other way. It just comes out like that when I say mustache.
Like Eminem didn't have a song about Stain. It was Stan. That's where it comes from.
But I don't understand. Okay, I'm not. We're gonna move on.
You don't understand.
I don't understand. Stan. Han shot first, $1.99. DeJuan Jones or Steve Avila, the tackle from Ohio State versus the guard from TCU. Perfect transition. Han shot first because we know Cardinals used a precious top 30 visit to meet with Mr. Steve Avila, and then if you turn on the tape, TCU got their shit rocked by Georgia. But Steve did not. He was putting people's asses on the ground. Go look what Steve did also against Michigan when they beat the hell out of Michigan's front seven. That's my pick right now. I am all in. I'm a stain of Steve Avila. While I like Jones from Ohio State, and I think that's a more premium position, I think Avila is the safer prospect, and I think Avila comes in and could be the Cardinals' best rookie in the entire draft class that they have, because I think that's such a plug-and-play position. So whereas Jones isn't going to play the first year, and part of me is like, so what? You're going to start Jones in 2024? What are you going to do with that? But Avila would be my choice, Bo.
I mean, when you look at them right now, when you look at the Arizona Cardinals starting lineup, the biggest void remains. I mean, you could find somebody to play center. Obviously, you want to draft that position. And Jonathan Gannon said that they'd be looking to draft a center potentially or add later here in free agency before training camp kicks off in July. But left guard remains, the biggest question mark because you brought back Will Hernandez, right? Will Hernandez seems like he's destined to return to his right guard spot. You've got the two tackles plus a swing, no matter how, DJ, Beachum or Jones fall, and then you could probably play Yelda Froholt at center if you needed to in a pinch. But yeah, you could draft and immediately plug a guy like Avila into your left guard position. I would think
they've never drafted that position at a high level. I'm thirsty for that. I mean, it's like Ayupati gave you one great season when you signed him, and then that's been it. That you've never been able to identify. They've tried, and I should include center in that as well. They've hit on some tackles lately. I'll give them credit. Humphreys, has been a good pick after the fact, but man, they suck at guards and centers, and other teams just crush that position. So I would love to see Avila there.
You've got, DeJuan Jones, who played on the same line as Paris Johnson Jr., is it very impressive offensive line and what they were able to do to Jalen Carter and that Georgia defensive line in the semifinal. But, to your point, I mean, I think that maybe you look at Jones isn't as polished as a Paris Johnson Jr. And you get a guy like Avila who could come in and be your guy. And the Cardinals obviously interested enough to use one of their top 30 visits. So I like it. I do. Jones is a monster. You can really get taken away by him at 6'8", 300 plus pounds. Just as our guy Pick and Spread said, he's almost 360 pounds. He's Godzilla.
$5 super chat from Marcus. He's correcting me, and he's 100% right. As a nerd myself, and I put a lot on Disney, probably unfairly. Disney didn't edit not shooting. Lucas, meaning George Lucas, did multiple edits with new releases of Star Wars and New Hope. So everybody who said that is correct. I misspoke. George Lucas did that probably to sell more toys and to make the movie more family friendly. I just assume everything with Disney Star Wars, how they've handled the legacy films, has been bad. But you guys are absolutely correct.
We talked about
George,
that like a half hour ago.
Well, and what's frustrating too, Bo, is can you believe, so the films were released in 77,
Oh my
80,
God, I
80,
thought we were going to get back to
83. Real quick,
talk.
this is unbelievable. You cannot buy the original copies of Star Wars from the 70s and 80s on Blu-ray or DVD or whatever. They aren't available. They don't produce them. So when people are bitching about, well, they've made so many changes, like if you went to see Star Wars in 77, that film does not exist for you to go purchase now, which is a crock of shit.
Right. Gary's getting after me in the comments because I said Stingley went to LSU and Sauce Gardner. I know he went to Cincinnati to get this thing back on track.
Bo, do you even know Star Wars? Do you even know Star Wars and draft? It's a nerd off. Hey, listen, Star Wars is pop culture.
I was so confused. I'm making my point about who they should draft in the second round, and you're getting back to half-hour-old comment about Star Wars. That's on me. That's on me. I take full responsibility for this. I'm sorry.
And it needed to be addressed. It's very important. Okay. Have you seen the original Star Wars trilogy, Bo?
I have, yeah. Okay. I did have a childhood. Yeah, of course.
No, we're man-childs now. You got to rewatch it. All right, we're going to talk about the facilities, and they may or may not be upgrading, but we're upgrading with our friends at Circle K, folks. If you haven't heard about it, it's so exciting to be partnered with Circle K. Premium gas at not a premium price. Check out your local Circle K. Best coffee, best beer selection. Hello, Four Peaks snack selection, premium gas, clean and convenience. That's what I think of when I think of our friends at Circle K. There's sweepstakes going on right now in store. Malcolm Stewart Rockstar Energies. Hello, factory racing. Buy 2 or more 12-ounce Rockstar energy drinks for a chance to go to FC 450, which is something that I think is going to be a banger of a good time. Make sure you're not missing out on all the great stuff and be stocked all March Madness long, Bo. Head to circlek.com/store locator. Again, circlek.com/store locator to find a Circle K nearest to you. So I've been in Arizona for 2 years, and when I need a safe space, I go to Circle K.
Absolutely. You're going to nerd out, maybe take on the trilogy. Why not go buy some snacks over at our Circle K locations? They're all around the valley. Also, go get yourself some OGs gummies. Of course, Arizona's original cannabis kitchen. They've got an incredible product line of so many great flavors and gummies that will do so many different things for you. They're tailored to the experience that you want. You want to sit down, chill, watch the Star Wars trilogy, do it with some OGs. Check out what they got. Check out their tropical flavors, or if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for maybe something to put you to sleep, they've got their Sleep Time Gummy and the Aquaberry Sleep Edition gummies that will help put you to sleep and keep you to sleep. Flavor your dreams as well as flavoring your life. They've also got that new strawberries and cream happy balance ratio, 2-to-1 CBD to THC ratio. Can't go wrong with that. It's officially hitting the shelves. The gummies are live out there at your local dispensaries. As always, you can find them there. Got to be 21 years or older to enjoy, but check them out. Learn more about it. ogsbrands.com. ogsbrands.com to learn more about all their incredible products. Check them out on your socials as well at OG's Brands.
Did Michael Bidwill take an OGs and just say, you know what, I got to make some changes because I make life changes on OGs and they're the best possible kind. Albert Breer put out this nugget today in his Q&A on SI, and I thought it was interesting. Shared it on Twitter. I'm sharing it now. This is in reference to the Cardinals report card where they got failing grades across the board, including something called an F-. But this is from Breer. Arizona already had some renovations underway before Gannon and GM Monti Ossenfort were hired or that the NFLPA report card was released. Cardinals have already upgraded their weight room and their training room, replaced the turf in the field house, and invested in sports science initiatives. And by the sounds of it, there's more coming. Now, that's all well and good. But, Emma, one more time with that graphic. I want to point something out. They've already replaced or upgraded their weight room and their training room, and then the new turf in the field house. What does upgraded mean to Albert Breer and Michael Bidwill compared to upgrading to the rest of the NFL, Bo. Have you seen the weight room and or training room when you've been in the facility since the end of the year? And can you tell there have been renovations?
Definitely haven't seen the training room. Never had any access to that where guys kind of get treatment and stuff like that. But we've seen the weight room a couple times since it's been renovated in 2015. I thought I just saw it on Rondell Moore's Instagram where he's hanging out with David Blau, and the floor looked the same to me. So I don't know if that's something that they've addressed. Maybe they upgraded some of the equipment in there. As far as we still don't know if players are paying for lunches or not. But Jonathan Gannon so much said that himself earlier this week at the league meeting. We have it on our Twitter account at PHNX_Cardinals, where he mentioned where they've already made some upgrades to the organization. And he said, facilities, weight room, contracts. He said Michael Bidwill has been very open-minded to it. Michael Bidwill said that much at Jonathan Gannon's introductory press conference is like he wanted to bring in guys outside the organization. And he did that in as far as his new general manager and his new head coach to get fresh eyes on this thing. And he was going to be very open-minded to what they suggest they upgrade. But then the bomb was dropped on them with the NFL Players Association report cards, where I think that maybe created a sense of urgency to get this done and maybe not drag their feet on it as they've done for far too long to get those failing grades.
A couple of ace comments here. Joel in the chat, they pulled some peel and stick tile in the weight room and just get some stuff at Home Depot. Bidwill himself.
When I was looking at it on Rondell's Instagram, it still didn't look great, but I could be wrong. But I was talking to some other Cardinals media members about this too, and it's just like, was it so brutal? Was it as bad as the grades reflect, or was it made out to be this bad by the players to incite the organization making changes? Like
probably a little bit of both,
right? I mean, obviously, where you would think any NFL organization, not just the Cardinals, their mindset should be, because they're one of 32 and it's the top league in the universe, that if you want to compete and keep up with the Joneses, that you would be on top of where the trends are, like where you need to upgrade, how, and you should be upgrading it, every couple of years. And they just didn't, which I think was a huge mistake by those organizations. So
well, if you're Michael Bidwill and you're walking through the weight room and they're like, this is unsafe, and you're investing in your players to not only as people, which is a different conversation, but as entities to help win you football games, like, I don't know, that seems really fucking stupid to me. You're paying these players millions of dollars, and then your weight room is unsafe to be in, and you're not attentive and saying, I got to fix that floorboard that's sticking up right there. That was the most wild out of everything.
I look, the floorboard thing seems a little.
No, I love it. I love that kind of stuff. Give me more.
Like they're not lifting weights on old crickety floorboards. They upgraded as recent as 2015. Like what
was the upgrade?
Company is it's like these rubber tiles that are like there's no grout in between them. So I can imagine that if you drag your feet, they come undone. I'm not defending them. I'm just saying, like, it went too far. Like they went way too far and let it linger way too long. No NFL organization should do that, and they should be paying for that. They should be criticized for it. But did the players play it up or play it down enough to where the team had no choice but to make changes? And that's part of this too. It's like they're trying to lobby for change in the organization because there hasn't been enough for too long. So
it's like us in the uniforms. The players are holding the team accountable for the shit facilities and paying for lunches. And this community is holding the team accountable for shitty uniforms. So you can be shamed into doing anything if you try hard enough. You shame people hard enough, you can do anything. I love this comment here from, let me pull it up here. The Icon 20634. They go from an F- to an F+. Any change is an improvement. Icon. All right. So Michael Bidwill's got a bunch of money. I don't feel bad when billionaires have to spend money on players.
I don't either.
Produce. It's not my money, and it's an embarrassment. And it was an embarrassment. We called them out on it. We called out their bullshit, and we will continue to do so. I love what the NFLPA did. I hope they do it every year.
There was only one organization that looked worse than Arizona, and it was Washington. And Washington almost couldn't even go like further below where they were before. So it's almost like the Cardinals took on the brunt of these report cards
as owner.
Yeah. As the Cardinals should have. And it's like, I can say, were they embellishing the poor grades to get, change? Sure. But they still were worse, just about as worse than any other team in the league. And that's brutal. You can't let things fester to that extent.
If this is a local high school and they're doing the best they can and the unit doesn't, the district doesn't have enough money, then you're like, let's all chip in as a community to do the best of what you can. The Bidwills have owned the Cardinals for, decades upon decades upon decades. Like, get your shit together. Have A-plus facilities like we know you can. Your stadium's A-plus. Have your facility look like that as well. What about your uniforms? The uniform's going to look like that. We're going to talk about UniWatch here in a second. But first, I want to tell you guys about the fabulous content we've got going down the pipeline at gophnx.com. Become a diehard. You're going to get 20% off all events, including this weekend, the PHNX Suns watch party at BetMGM Sportsbook. Cop a free hat and or t-shirt every year you're signed up for a diehard membership, Bo. You will not be sorry that you did. Hang out in the exclusive member Discord with myself, Bo Brack, all the many talents and personalities at PHNX. We appreciate all of you. Check out our guy, Howard Balzer, the PHNX Cardinals beat reporter. I'm sure he's got some good content coming down the pipeline. Slam that promo code Howard, HOWARD, Bo.
I've been having a blast all day. MLB season is upon us, and I'm on Fubo.tv watching all the great games because they actually have MLB Network, which can't be said for a lot of streaming services out there and a lot of satellite or cable providers. But Fubo.tv has it, and I'm going to continue to watch opening day all the way through the D-backs Dodgers matchup. Later tonight, I watched the Suns game last night. There was no issue there where I think a lot of people around the Valley had a tough time watching that game. I didn't, because our friends over at Fubo TV had us locked in to all of it. 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, news. I love the premiums movie channels that they have. You can stream live TV from any device. Watch almost all Arizona sports for the lowest price. Start watching immediately with a 7-day free trial. No contract, no cable, no hassle. Get rid of the cable box, cut the wires, just sign up and start watching thousands of hours of cloud DVR included with no extra charge. Watch local teams while traveling. If you're on the road, you're not in AZ all the time, you can watch your Fubo TV from anywhere on your device. And we've got so many things going on. ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPNU. You can check out all those great channels. Check them out. Check out the Suns on Bally Sports with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description. Sign up for 15% off your first month with Fubo Pro. Just check it out with us at PHNX. Fubo.tv or FuboTV.com/PHNX. That's FuboTV.com/PHNX.
So yesterday we talked about a potential tease by the Cardinals with new uniforms. And then you immediately threw cold water on that, saying that there's something else going on at State Farm Stadium this weekend. For those of you who don't know, Cardinals are shutting down their team store right now through this weekend, and they're going to reopen it with some quote-unquote new stuff, including draft hats. Speculation ran wild. I'm not going to say I got caught up in it. It's whatever. But
no.
Bo and some other peeps pointed out there's some kind of car show going on. Bo, can you elaborate a little bit more on what you found out?
Your favorite wet blanket, Bo Brack, was out there. It's the Mecum Auto Auction. It's going on at State Farm Stadium. Actually, right now, you want to get tickets? I don't know where you can get those, but you could get out there. I'm sure they're available. And that's why the team shop, you would assume, is shut down because, what's the reason of being open when you got people out there bidding on cars? Do you need to go, have your team shop open? Probably just a good time to shut it down. Get your new draft cap on the shelves. In the meantime, saw the Mecum truck going from the Glendale area through downtown Phoenix to Tempe, where the Arizona Cardinals facility is. Could it be a front? Could that truck just be placed there as I was driving down the I-10. It's possible. I think it's very possible that it's an elaborate ruse to cover up the Cardinals in uniform while they get a couple more days under that guise. I don't know. It's possible. What do you think, Johnny? Are you still under the impression that we're going to see new uniforms revealed in the next couple days?
No, I think we're going to get new uniforms in the month of April, but why can't you do both? If you've got this event, it's like, hey, you know what? I've seen the team store be closed before without announcements on the game day app. Can we talk about that? I've tried to go to the team store and it's been closed randomly. So maybe this is, you kill two birds with one stone. We're going to close it. And then when we reopen it, we're going to have new gear in there. And I still think there's a chance we're going to be out there peeping through the windows, couple peeping Toms at State Farm Stadium. We're going to be on the lawn at BetMGM this weekend. Come swing by for the Suns watch party, 2 p.m. on Saturday. But for me, it's like you got to do two things for the draft. You got to trade down and your uniforms ready to go. If you don't have your uniforms ready to go, I don't want to see Christian Gonzalez or Paris Johnson Jr. holding up these old scraps. Let's call them scraps.
Look at Joel with the $4.99 super chat. The team shop was open during the Taylor Swift concert for those 2 nights, huh? That's interesting. I mean, why
would they close it for this event? I don't understand.
I mean,
don't you want the foot traffic? Don't you want like those could be Cardinal fans that are also there? It's like,
well, like I was saying, maybe it's just a perfect time because they need it to maybe do some inventory, put some new stuff on the shelves. Out.
We know they're getting new uniforms. All the uniforms everywhere are discounted. They're trying to get rid of them. You can probably get them for about 75% off in certain places. But are you taking this time to just like the jerseys that are in the team store after this weekend? If they're the same old jerseys, people are going to be pissed. Like at least take those out. But I don't know. Do you think they think they're being like coy or tongue in cheek with this?
Well, I was just checking out that Twitter account, the Cardinals Game Day, Twitter account. They still haven't replied to anything. They just let people go crazy. He had over 83 retweets, 200 likes. 32 people commented on it.
Are they that not self-aware?
There was a lot of, or maybe they just love that it's getting attention. I mean, it's not like it's the team account. It's the team shop.
But it's affiliate with the team. It's an affiliate for sure with the team.
And then you have DeAndre Hopkins is in Toronto. It's like, what does it all mean? What does it all mean? Toronto, 140 miles from Buffalo by car.
I don't know. I'm going back on all these old tweets from game day. Nothing even gets close to that. And they got to know, like, let's turn our brains on. We know people want new uniforms. I think it would be, here's what I think. If the Cardinal Twitter account did the eyeball emojis over it, then we could cook with gas for sure. But because something like that hasn't happened yet, I'm going to still say 50-50 chance. I still don't think we're out of the woods yet. I still think, I think there's an opportunity.
Arizona wants us to put on the tinfoil hat like our guy Espo does all the time.
Listen, I don't need a hat other than my PHNX lid because this is what I genuinely believe. We've heard they're getting new uniforms. That's a tough look right there. I know, how did that producer ever have that so fast? Not sure. I need to see that over again. Let's scrub that from the record books here. Pick and spreads $2 super chat. New Jersey's in the truck. Johnny crash into it now. But we can blame Bo if we don't get a deal done this weekend because he could have plowed his lovely truck into that truck and. The tinfoil boys. This is good podcasting. Listen, Cardinals are going to have new uniforms. We feel confident in that sometime in April. We've been told by enough people they're coming down the pipeline. Here's what you don't have to speculate on is our draft party at Four Peaks. Thursday night, the NFL draft. It is free. We're going to get you the link to sign up as early as next week. We're going to have graphics made. It's going to be excited. But we're going to be at Suns watch party this weekend, Bo, and we got one more show tomorrow. Final Four watch party, not Suns watch party, Final Four, but with Suns peeps, Suns personalities, D-back personalities. And we got a signing today at cornerback. Do we want to touch on that real quick?
Woo! Oh, man. Everybody sitting down. The Arizona Cardinals, they signed cornerback Rashad Fenton. He's played most of his career with the Kansas City Chiefs. Had an interception of Josh Allen in the 2019 postseason in the NFC or AFC Conference Championship game. But he's a guy that the Chiefs moved on from last season. He spent some time on the Atlanta Falcons roster last year, was inactive most of the year, but somebody bring in, adds depth, that room. Now you have 5 corners on your rosters. You've got Marco Wilson, you've got Antonio Hamilton that you brought back. You have Christian Matthew, the second-year player from Valdosta State, Nate Harrison, and now you've got Rashad Fenton.
And you'll have Christian Gonzalez anchoring that unit. So what can Christian Gonzalez learn from Rashad Fenton? That's what I'd be wanting to dive into more.
With the opposing quarterbacks able to just run around as much as they want with no defenders coming down on them at all. I mean, whoever's in the defensive secondary is going to have to cover a long time because as of right now, they just don't have a front 7 that's going to create pressure.
Picking spreads, Rashad Fenton, actually solid. He was solid for Kansas City 3 years. Then last year was also injured. I'm just excited when they sign NFL players that I've heard of. It's an exciting day. Here's what's exciting. Joel in the chat, I'm feeling an all yellow uniform, to be honest. Sign me up. People have been dogging that concept. I've seen a ton of should tomorrow's show be uniform concept day?
Yeah,
Cardinal uniform concept day. So what we're going to do tomorrow's show, 4 p.m., PHNX Cardinals, send us your favorite mock-ups, and we'll try to credit everybody. We're going to do graphics upon graphics of mock-up uniforms for this team. And we're going to talk about our favorites, and who knows, might have good juju en route to hopefully some uniform unveils in the coming weeks, Bo Brock.
Uniforms, plenty, hopefully avoiding any stains out there, stands, whatever it may be. It's been an eventful show, that's for damn sure. Cardinals make the signing. Rashad Fenton added to the cornerback room. I believe the roster is now at 64. So if you're doing the math, that means they've got They've got just about 26 roster spots remaining. And I'm sure most of that's going to go through the draft. So I think that they're probably wrapping up free agency for the most part. I mean, we'll probably see a signing or 2 next week, but the rest of it's going to be draft meetings like they've had. The TCU running back who missed their pro day, he was working out. They said that there's reports that he's going to meet with the Arizona Cardinals. Be interesting as they met with the Pittsburgh running back yesterday. So the Arizona Cardinals obviously doing their homework on some running backs. That's got to get some Cardinals fans excited. Kendry Miller wasn't working out. He's recovering from MCL injury. So looks like that's going to happen. So Cards could add a nice young running back to pair with James Conner. That would be a nice little something we're sleeping on as far as what this offense is going to look like, who's going to play the quarterback position in the meantime, but they're probably going to lean heavily on a run game.
Joel, Johnny's bigger than Deuce Vaughn. Well, that remains to be seen. I'm not bigger than many people, but my heart is 3 times the size because we got 218 people in this chat right now. Like this video. We've got draft talk coverage, prospect breakdowns coming down the pipeline. Check us out. Subscribe to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Ring, ding, ding, that little bell so you get notifications anytime. Bo, myself, producer Emma, we go live, as well as our many talented peers. Got Suns, we got Diamondbacks, first pitch here in a hot minute, watch parties, so much good stuff, all with PHNX. For Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tomorrow.